A Flower for Ambrose by Anna and Edward Standen. Deep in the middle of darkest Africa, there lived a little elephant whose name was Ambrose. Now, Ambrose was a dreamer and never looked where he was going, so he was always falling over things or into things or onto things. But this time he was really in trouble. He had tripped over the leader of the herd while he was asleep and stepped right on his trunk. The leader was very cross. "Why don't you ever look where you are going?" he said. "Stop daydreaming and wake up." Poor Ambrose was very upset. He felt so sad that he ran off into the jungle until he came to a clearing. There he sat down, and a tear trickled down his cheek, along his trunk, until it plopped onto the hard, dry ground near a wilting flower. The flower drank the tear, and then it opened its petals as if asking for more. When Ambrose looked down and saw the flower at his feet, he thought proudly, "That was my tear that did that. I'll go and get some water and give it a big drink." The sun had baked the earth until it was hard and dry, and Ambrose could not find a single drop of water anywhere. He went on and on until at last he found a water hole. He sucked up so much water that his trunk bulged out. But, as usual, Ambrose was not looking where he was going. Over he went, and by the time he reached the flower again, he had very little left in his trunk. But he gave the flower all that he had, and its petals stretched out to him as though saying, "Thank you." So Ambrose looked for something to carry the water in, and at last he found an old water pot, which he filled right to the top with water from his water hole, and carried it so carefully that he did not spill one single drop. Back and forth he ran all day, until at last the ground was soft and damp all around the little flower. Every day Ambrose went to water the flower, and it grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It was the most beautiful flower that Ambrose had ever seen, and it was all his own. How happy the little elephant was! One day a butterfly, flying past, came and sat on the flower just as Ambrose was taking a deep breath. Then, all at once, the butterfly disappeared. Ambrose had sucked it up into his trunk. Oh, how it tickled! Ambrose danced up and down, blowing with all his might and swinging his trunk wildly, until at last he blew out the butterfly, which flew away as fast as it could. But where was the flower? Ambrose looked down and all around, but he couldn't find it anywhere. Then he saw the petals floating away in the wind, and he knew that he must have blown the flower down and stepped on it. "I've done something wrong again," Ambrose cried. A tear trickled down his trunk, and another, and another. Thick and fast they fell, making little puddles all around him, and he went on crying until at last his mother came looking for him to put him to bed. Next morning, Ambrose went to the clearing, and there, to his surprise, he saw a flower. And another and another. The whole clearing was filled with flowers. Everywhere his tears had fallen, a flower had grown. How happy Ambrose was! From that day, Ambrose looked after the flowers with great care until they grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the animals came to admire the beautiful garden of flowers. As for Ambrose, the little elephant, he is too busy to daydream now, and he always looks where he is going.